all the way
Okay.
from Pensacola.
Yeah, man, we live all the way across the country. We got a special guest on the line with Rapzilla.com. Video, you see his face. One of the most storied members of the CHH movement and culture.
Wow.
A challenging rapper, writer, now minister, actor,
Wow. Wow.
mogul, philanthropist.
Wow. Wow.
We going all out here. Rapzilla, baby.
Oh man.
We got MC JIN on the line. MC JIN, what's up, brother?
How you doing, Tyler? How's everybody doing, man?
We doing
Greetings.
great.
That was a very overwhelming introduction, brother.
It's all true, man. It's nothing but the gospel.
Oh man. What can I say? I mean, I say it's overwhelming because I think as it stands, I'm still coming into realization of a lot of the stuff you just said. For example, even the title of minister or leader or storied member of the CHH community. I mean, it's humbling, it's very encouraging, and at the same time, it is overwhelming because I'm still coming to grasp with what that really means. And every day is a opportunity to learn and grow. So thanks, man.
Absolutely. It's crazy because a lot of people, would be hard to believe that you're this humble in real life. But I actually ran into you not last year's Flavor Fest, but the year before. It was right after you released Crazy Love, Ridiculous Faith, and you were one of
Yeah.
the speakers
Yeah.
and everything. And so I remember you just walking around handing out physical copies of Crazy Love, Ridiculous Faith, and people being like, "Yo, can we pay you?" And you were like, "Nah, that's cool." And they were like, "You should charge for this." And you're like, "I could, but I'm just in this space right now where I just want to give and I just want to serve other people." And it rocked me because I was like, "Man, this dude is known in a whole bunch of different circles,
Mm,
but you have the humility that the Lord had given you to just
mm.
kind of be willing to serve and give to other people." So along that vein, man, like has it been harder to keep that generosity and that humility now that you're even growing and expanding within our movement and subgenre?
Man, that's a great question to start off with. I guess if anything, it's an indication of how powerful the Holy Spirit is, and how powerful God's guidance and conviction can be when you fully submit to it. Because on the contrary to what you said about has it been harder, to be honest, it's actually been. I mean, I naturally want to use the word easier because it
Yeah.
seems to be the antonym of harder. But I don't want to use the word easy. But I will say is it has come more organically, just beyond what you described about saying, someone wanting to pay me and I'm like, here, take it for free or whatever. Just that heart to serve, that heart to be more accessible, that heart to be more patient, the heart to be more just wanting to connect. Now, the reason I don't want to use the word easy is because it still takes an effort, a very concentrated effort.
Yeah.
But I do feel that there's this, like I said, organic and very natural inclination to want to do it. I'll give you one example. For those that have followed me in the last 12 months of my journey, they'll know I've been all about wanting to connect, be it on Twitter, be it on emails, or as you stated, even connecting at Flavor Fest. I'm all about that dialogue, right?
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, it's tough. It's very tough, because one of the biggest reasons why it's tough is because when I do have these dialogues and these connections, I don't want them. I don't want them to be just very, surface level. Yo, what's going on, man? How can I lift you up in prayer, man? All right, cool. Nice meeting you. Peace out, right? I mean, there's a purpose for that too, but as God has put it on my heart, I'm always looking to go as deep as I possibly can. And the reason I say it's tough is because when you have such, I mean, the best way to put it, it's very easy to spread yourself out too thin. And what happens is, I get stretched so far out. I mean, I forced myself to be stretched so far out that it is easy to, next thing you know, I'm getting burnt out. And then the whole, the whole aspect of like, what is my ministry? I'm pouring into all these different platforms. Meanwhile, the distance between, hypothetically, me and my wife is starting to wear and tear, or just on the home front, or even something as simple as just my relationship with the Lord is like it's on the back burner because I'm so like on fire with, man, who can I email and reply to and lift up in prayer and send a New Living Translation Bible to. And this is stuff that I'm actually doing. So what I mean is, it's not easy, but as it seems, I'm becoming more and more intentional about all this stuff, and it's been an awesome experience.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so before we dig in, let's just say for everybody who's watching, you need to retweet, you need to go to Rapzilla.com, and you need to leave your comments because we're about to get into some crazy stuff, not the least of which is we're going to talk about the new EP, the new music from MC JIN, which is that Hypocrite.
Yeah.
Okay? That Hypocrite, which if you don't have, you need to go check out right now. Jin, where can they get Hypocrite right now?
Well, the easier one is if you go to thegreatcompany.com. It's spelled exactly how it sounds, thegreatcompany.com. Okay. And you can get the EP there. The links are there. The awesome Hypocrite caps that I've been wearing. Got the black on black one, the gold on black one. And just all kind of interesting videos and info and email contacts, all of that at thegreatcompany.com.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, yeah, and you want to retweet it as well. You want to get your friends on here, and you want to leave your comments as well on Rapzilla.com. Right. Under the story link, we're going to be taking your questions, live, candid questions for the man MC JIN. And as you can tell right now, he's going to be open, he's going to be honest, and we're going to get into this. Jin, you ready?
Let's do it.
All right. Okay, so let's lead off with this here. As a leader of hip-hop culture, because you've experienced both. Like, not a lot of artists can say they've experienced both. All artists can say that they've been affected by both the mainstream and the Christian side, but you've actually been a leader in both at one way or another, at one point or another in one way. And so what's your assessment of hip-hop as a whole? Like, if you're taking a 30,000-foot view of hip-hop and somebody's like, yo, Jin, what do you think about hip-hop right now? Like, if you're looking at it from a 30,000-foot view, what do you see? And also, to kind of follow up with that, is the Christian side of hip-hop healthier than it was when you started? Just a few years back, do you consider it healthier, or are you now saying, man, I didn't know what I was getting into? So from your vantage point, what do you think?
Let me answer carefully, as well as how do I say it, with clarity. So it is a two-part question. So I'm going to tackle the first part first. In both regards, regardless if you're talking the CHH, the non-CHH, the whole concept of, Jin, you were a leader in this culture and that culture. I mean, first of all, that's a hat that, I don't want to say I reject it, but it's like, if people view me as that, then by all means, thank you. But I think the biggest thing about my walk and my testimony and my journey as a whole is just that I'm really not as awesome as I thought I was. So the whole concept of like leadership and being a pioneer and being on the forefront and my contributions to hip-hop culture, Asian, not Asian, whatever the case may be, it has been a very colorful 10 years that I've been doing this. But what I'm seeing is all of these titles and accolades and achievements, it doesn't mean as much when I'm boasting about it. Obviously, if people are saying, Jin, this is how we view you, then like I said, by all means, thank you, and I'm humbled by it. But it's just something that I'm hesitant about, proclaiming myself. So I just wanted to get that out the way. Now, as far as your question about, Jin, what do you think about like hip-hop culture as a whole? Now, I say this not with any leader authoritative stance or any like I'm the expert on it. I'm saying it merely as just a small, you know, individual who has, for the most part, grown up on hip hop culture. If you talk about, you know, when I was 12, 13, just discovering what the heck this thing is, to like, you know, like I mentioned, actually actively being a part of the industry, even in that sense. Um, right now, as of where it stands right now, currently, I think it's in a place. You know that saying, the more things change, the more they stay the
Stay the
same.
same. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel about where we're at now, where we were at 5 years ago, and even 10 years ago. I mean, yes, you know, it's so easy to just be like, man, hip hop ain't the same now, you know, and then more specifically say, be it the style, the culture of it, the attire, the content. Man, it's not like the good old days. See, what I'm learning, and it may just be because I'm getting old too. You know what I mean? Like, you know, when I did, you know, this is something people got to bear in mind. When I did the Freestyle Friday thing, I was 21. I'm 31 now. So 10 years have passed.
Wow.
So my point is, you know, everybody always looks at it as, man, the good old days, the golden era. The thing is, it's technically a cycle. There will always be a generation that reminisces upon the good old days. So, you know, I look at the good old days like, word, you know, early or late 90s, early 2000, you know, like when I was in high school, you know, yeah, when it was real grimy and gritty and, you know, but truth of the matter is, I liked all of it, you know. Like there was this
Mm.
whole thing of like before X came out and Puffy was doing the whole shiny suits with Mace and
Yeah.
more money, more problems.
Yeah,
I
man.
loved it. I loved it. Like I remember I went to the mall trying to buy one of those shiny suits to wear to school. And I actually bought one. I bought the white. It wasn't the shiny joint, but if you've ever seen the Mo
Wow.
Money, if you've ever
Yep.
seen the Mo Money, Mo Problems video, the background dancers, they got this all white. It's called Cybertech. This all white suit that they had on. I actually bought one and wore it to school.
Jin,
But
do you have photo evidence of this?
I'm sure I could dig it up somewhere. But I don't want to stray too far away from
Yeah,
the
go
topic
ahead.
at hand. But like I'm saying, but then when X came out, you know, where Get At Me Dog, and it was all grimy and gritty, I love that too. So my personal perspective is, you know, I've always tried to be very open-minded and not tried to. It's just organic, to be honest. So what does that have to do with what I'm talking about right now is, you know, the more things change, the more they stay the same. Especially with like currently, you have the faction that's like, yo, we don't want to hear the trap rap and, you know, all of the bang bang shoot 'em up. You know, we want lyrics that elevate and lift our minds and challenge us to think. And then you have the ones that are like, yo, you know, we want the lyrical, you know, punchlines, metaphors, similes. It's, you know, the beats gotta be boom bap and my point is, you have this division now, and you had this division then.
Yeah.
Um, so you know, I know the question you asked was, what do I think of the status, and do I think it's healthy? Is it not healthy? Um, the best I can answer is the more it changes, the more it stays the same. I will say that, you know, truthfully, in the last year or two, I haven't been as like in tuned as I was several years ago. So, like I said, I don't know if my assessment and my views and feedback is worthy at all of even being, you know, like once upon a time when I used to like give opinions and people would say, "Man, what does Jin's opinion count?" I would get offended by that, right? But now it's like, you're right. What does my opinion count? It's just, you know, it's just my one opinion. So that's another, just to tie back into the whole, you know, faith, you know, the maturation in the faith is it's kind of helping me see that too. Like, which is, you know, you know, my views aren't necessarily deemed more worthy than anybody else, is what I'm saying. I do want to jump into the second part of your question, which is the CHH like scene and that perspective of it. Um, it's been an interesting experience, you know. Let's see, I would, you know, to put it in perspective, it's been like these last 3 years. Yeah, let's see, it's 2013. Yeah, so roughly 2010 is
Yeah.
when I kind of crept my head in, just like peeking. But here's the interesting thing to note, and I always kind of, I don't feel the need to intentionally point it out, but in this case, when the topic does arise, you know, I feel like it's the best way to describe it. Just for the record, never did it get to a point where I was like, all right, I'm doing Christian hip hop from now on. You know, let's do a press conference. You know, here's my flag. Jin is doing Christian hip hop. I'm
Okay.
here. CHH, what's up? I'm here. No, never did I create this agenda. Never did I intentionally say this is the direction I'm taking. What ended up happening is, for anybody out there, you know, yourself even, Tyler, or anybody who's felt the impact of how, you know, uh, a relationship with God can change your life, you'll know that once it kicks in, it's beyond your control. And it just pours into every single aspect of your life. So for my case, that just happened to be, you know, what happened with my music. So naturally, as I'm feeling the grace and the transformative power of God's grace and love and mercy, it's not, you know, it's kind of inevitable and almost logical that it would pour into my music. So I can even remember some of the earlier stuff that I was writing. There's this one joint. It's not even a song. It's kind of like just one of those long verse type joints. There was
Yeah.
this one joint called "Welcome to the Light Club."
I
Welcome
remember
to
it.
the Light Club. And I think I did it on I know which beat I did it on too. I did it on a Kanye beat. That joint that goes, it's amazing, it's amazing.
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
something. Yeah, I don't know if that's the name of the song. It's amazing. But
I think so. Yeah.
but that was the instrumental, and Welcome to the Light Club. That was like one of the first joints. And then the next one that I think was kind of like really kicking it into a higher gear was the Angels joint. And that was on that instrumental was actually Diddy, I think, and the song was called Angels too. And yeah, it was a combination of the title of that original track was called Angels, but for the hip hop heads out there, the original track was actually a Jay-Z joint from way back, from like '90s, called Where I'm From. And I heard that beat and I was just like, man, this beat is dope. And Angels came out the way it is, and you know, it still kind of blows my mind that that video is at like 1 point something million views. Not to get caught up in numbers, but it's just the beauty of art. You know,
Yeah.
like when I wrote and recorded that and we put it out online, it wasn't like, yo, this is gonna be the joint that's gonna get 1 point something million views. It was just like, let's just shoot something for it and throw it out there. And then next thing you know, it does become the one that has 1 point something million views. And truthfully, nowadays, 2 million views is nothing on YouTube.
Right. Right.
Yeah, when you're like Gangnam Style at like 69 billion views and whatnot. So
Yeah, no, I mean, man, there's so much to extrapolate and take out of what your answer said. Like, I think the biggest thing that I took was that you're organically changing, you're organically morphing, like, and it's
yeah,
almost like the organic nature of the gospel to just come in and just wreck shop and just take over the host. So like
yeah,
the gospel injects you, the gospel gets injected into you, and it just takes you over, and now you can't make art the same, you can't do life the same, you can't watch the same things. Like,
yes,
is
yes,
that what I'm getting? That just organic, natural flow?
absolutely, absolutely. Um, kind of drawing back to the topic of, you know, the scene, the CHH scene. I mean, I don't know. I think it is because it's still relatively new to me. You know, the whole experience, the community. Um, it's a lot that I'm still learning, but at the same time that I'm learning, I'm also trying to be mindful as much as I humanly can, which is why, you know, the dependency on the Lord for discernment and wisdom is so important. I'm trying to be mindful not to get caught up in that. And what am I saying? Not to get caught up in, not to get caught up in that whole, yo, the Christian hip hop scene. Now, I want to be very clear. I love the community aspect of it. I'm all for it. You know what I mean? Sometimes to the point where what really discourages me, you know, and I don't blame it on any particular individual, but I wish it wasn't the case, but it is the case. Is sometimes when people, brothers and sisters, tend to put the music before the body. I don't even know if that's the right way to put it. And
Yeah.
I don't want to say anything that can potentially be divisive or cause harm. But what I hope it comes across as is I want to challenge and encourage, actually. This all ties into the concept of why I would do a project called Hypocrite. It's not so much an attack outwardly, but it's more of a self-assessment. And hopefully everybody that listens to it can do a self-assessment as well. I'll give you kind of like a case example. Since I've gone in this direction with my music, even though it's been organic, right? One of the biggest things that's really caught me off guard, in a good way, is the support, the overwhelming support. Now, you have people that are like, yo, what is this, Jin? Oh man, things didn't work out with Rough Riders, and you can't make no hit records. So now you're gonna do Christian rap to try to make a name or try to make money because there's a market. Yo, by the grace of God, individuals who comment like that, little do they know, it's more helpful for me than they think. Because what happens is, if I'm just getting like praise, I'm human. Next thing you know, I'm like, yo, my ego gets inflated just as much. Even though I am doing stuff that's glorifying God, right? But quiet is kept on the inside. I'm filthy as well, because I'm being consumed by this pride and this praise and this ego. So it is every now and then when you do get the random the Twitter or the random YouTube comment that's saying, yo, get out of here with that religious stuff or whatever. You know, sometimes the language can be a bit more vocal, of course.
Yeah.
But I'm reading it, and little do they know, they're actually challenging me in a way that is very important, I think. But what I'm saying is, another type of outreach that I've been getting is from brothers. I don't want to say brothers and sisters, because it's mainly guys, but basically reaching out to want to do music. So what happens is, it'll be on Twitter, they'll send me an email. I'm pretty accessible, and it's like, yo, Jin, praise God, you're on our team. Oh, praise God, you're working for the kingdom now. Yo, let's do a joint together. Right?
Yeah.
Now, I don't mind the enthusiasm. I don't mind the excitement. But sometimes, this is what I mean. This is more of, I want to say this lovingly. But sometimes it does get discouraging from my end, because I can feel that the emphasis is so heavily on the music that, yo, the moment I'm like, hey, listen, brother, I appreciate it. I'm down to check out your joints, but at this moment, I just can't commit to a song, or I can't commit to something. You can sense the shift in the tone of their outreach, their initial outreach. It's not always. Sometimes, they're pretty mindful, and they can be real open-minded, and they're like, hey, Jin, man, it's cool. I still want to build. But there are several occasions where, it gets disheartening for me, because I'm just like, man, what happened to the excitement from the original outreach, And then the moment I say, I'm going to pass on this, right, you don't hear them reaching out anymore. And more than anything, it's not an anger or a bitterness, but it's more of a heartbreaking from my side, because it's like, dude, I'm here, I'm still here, and we can still have such fruitful and encouraging dialogue, but obviously I can't force it on the person. You see what I'm saying? So, I'm gonna do a this is something real open, and I think it's a great platform to share about. On Hypocrite, I initially had a song. It never made it on the final cut, but I initially had a song that I reached out to Lecrae about. And actually, several months back, even before I actually reached out to him, I debated for a long time of, should I reach out to him or should I not reach out to him? And you know, the thing is, we've crossed paths. He's been real encouraging. You know, I'm not saying we've had the most in-depth dialogue, but yo, for the limited dialogue that we did have, he's always been encouraging, genuine, humble, cool dude, right?
Yeah.
Exchange contacts. A lot of the people that I have crossed paths with also work closely with him. So I'm just saying, like, the connection is there. But it's something that I wrestled with and struggled with for quite some time too, before even actually reaching out to him, which was, okay, why are you reaching out to Lecrae for a verse, Jin? Is it because you genuinely want to glorify God and, you know, and advance the kingdom? Or is it because the dude just won a Grammy? Or is it because he has 400,000 followers on Twitter? And it was so grueling because I was torn about it. I was like, man, like, it is just for the music. Now, ultimately, this is what happened. Ultimately, what happened was, after prayer, after, you know, kind of counsel from brothers around me, you know, they were like, hey, listen, pray about it, and as long as you have peace about it, reach out to him. Don't let lies hold you back from reaching out to him. So I reached out, and in the end, he wasn't able to commit to it. You know, so I'm not going to go into full detail, but he wasn't able to do it, and we didn't do the song. So it's not, this song doesn't exist, for the record. The moral of the story is, God gave me a lot of peace. And in the end, yo, if you ask me right now, yo, so how do you feel? Would you still reach out to him? Does it change how you feel about him? To this day, people still tweet me and ask, yo, when are you and Lecrae gonna do a song? When are you and Lecrae gonna do a song? As I'm sure a lot of people get asked that, right? And my thing is, when I reply to them, it's in God's hands. It's because I genuinely feel it's in God's hands.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you know,
Wow.
and I'm not saying, and I share that story only as a, hopefully as an example for people out there that are kind of undergoing the same thing, to see, yo, I'm going through it too, and I think it's healthy to go through it, but I think those are the opportunities where you can really be challenged. And this is why I write something like Hypocrite. And this is why, like, my heart and my mindset is kind of where it's at. Same thing happened with, and these are brothers that I love, by the way. If they, yo, all they got to say is, man, I need you for this, and I would still support them. And another brother who really helped me in that way too. And they don't even realize that they helped me in this way. Man, this is even a better example. Super good dude. Now, this is a dude that I actually, yo, I flew out to VA and hung out with him for 2 days. You know, went to get, you know, burgers and corn dogs and whatnot. Met his family. I'm talking about Gene, No Malice, aka No Malice. Now this one was a bit different because, yo, I grew up on the Clips. You see what I'm saying? I was a Clips fan, you know, and I'm still a Clips fan. So just to even be able to build with him in that sense was super humbling and encouraging, man. And he was so welcoming. And in the end, a song didn't come out of it, even though I was hoping to get him for a record. And once again, the reason I even shared these two particular stories is, you know, hopefully the person listening, whoever's listening now, can see that, you know, it's coming from a place of more just hoping to encourage, as opposed to, you know, like name dropping, you know, because I mean, I guess there really is no purpose to name drop since I didn't get them on the song, but it's more of like, I hope it comes across as like more of as a testimonial, which is, yo, when you say you want to build, how genuinely do you want to build? You know, is it something that you want to get out of it? And I'm not telling these two examples as a way of uplifting myself and saying, yeah, look at how gracious I, Jin, am. I actually just want to say, praise God for giving me the peace. And part of that peace and that healing, I think, comes from sharing it out too. Hopefully people can see it. And I mean, I hope that people can do that too when they reach out to me and I'm like, yo, man, thank you for your interest. Thank you for recording this song and leaving a 16-bar verse specifically for me. But I got to pass on this, brother. Hopefully they can see that it doesn't mean I don't love them. And it doesn't mean that I don't want to encourage them and lift them on their walk. Because the two things about these particular brothers, I'm talking about Cray and No Malice, is that dude, they were, you know, never at any point were they misleading, you know what I'm saying? Or did they feel the need to kind of, protect their, like they weren't politically correct or any particular, they didn't use any tactics. They
Yeah.
were just very straightforward about it. And I think that's one thing we need to embrace, even within the body, I suppose.
Yeah, man. Whew.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Like this is really dope because I think this is a great place for you to share your heart. Like I sense you're just opening yourself up and just being transparent, which is the thing that I think so many people enjoy about you, and that's why so many people are watching right now. And listen, we see you watching. If you're watching right now, Jin is being super honest, as you can tell. But he's being super honest, not just so that we can say he's being honest, but we can tell he's being honest because he wants to edify the body, lift up the saints. So leave your questions, man. Leave your comments on YouTube. We see you commenting right now. But leave some questions. We're going to take all your questions, and also on Rapzilla.com as well. Man, okay, this is dope. See, I see you're very honest and open, and it's how I figured you would be. But it makes me want to take it in so many different directions. But let's bring it back to the music right now.
Yeah.
We'll pick up some of the other stuff later.
Yeah.
So, okay, you admitted in the past year you've kind of been a little bit separated from the culture as far as typical hip-hop goes.
Yeah.
And so now when you're getting back in the booth, when you're recording,
yeah,
especially recording new music that's going to be out for the fans who are heavily anticipating it, what's the approach, and what was the approach? How did Hypocrite rise out of that? And then also sonically, like, what was the sound creation like? Was it harder? I guess what I'm asking, and you can speak to this point too, not to ask you like 8 questions in one.
Yeah.
But you can speak to this point too. As your role grows and expands as an actor, leader, minister, and even husband and father, like, has the music passion dwindled at all? Like, have you kind of toned down the passion because you're like, man, I don't have time to be writing 16s all the time like I used to when I was 21. You get where I'm coming from?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So speak to that. Like, what was it like getting back in the booth, recording Hypocrite, and has that passion for music still existed, or has it kind of waned a little bit and you're like, Lord, just whenever you say it's time to hang it up, I'll hang it up?
Oh, wow. That's a great question. I definitely feel that I'm in a place right now where, let's say specifically with rapping, I definitely feel like if I felt led and God were to give me a very clear sign and say, I'm changing your path, I want you to put the mic down, I'm at absolute peace with doing so, in whatever capacity. If he's saying, I'm, my intentions for you are not to put you on this stage to perform for these 200 people or 2,000 or whatever the case may be. Now, praise God, for the time being, that doesn't seem to be the case, because, he's still opening these doors. A lot of these doors that I truly believe, he's opening. And it's not by my own doing or my team's doing, and that's just pure faith and trust and belief that that's the case. But has it dwindled down? I think the love and the passion for writing, creating, performing, without a doubt, hasn't dwindled down. By no means. Not only has it not dwindled down, but I think, and this is mind-blowing, considering that this whole, the whole, craft of writing raps and performing has taken up pretty much 2/3 of my life, roughly. Yeah, I mean, I started when I was 12, 13. I'm in my 30s now, so it is about 2/3 of my life. It's mind-blowing to think that I feel, if anything, not only has it not dwindled down, but I feel rejuvenated in a sense. I feel like I have a new fire lit under me as far as this whole thing, writing, rapping, performing. And I believe without a doubt that has to do with the new spiritual growth and direction as far as my faith. Because the first word that comes to my mind is purpose. I think for the first time ever, have I really found purpose in doing what I do. Now, I'm gonna expand on that even a bit more. I think prior to finding this purpose, for the longest time, what was driving this train was a combination of things. I guess the first would be just self, ego, self. The self was driving it. Ego, wanting recognition, wanting props, wanting to be praised, wanting to be admired, wanting fans, all of that, right? And then along with that, monetary gain, financial reasons, materialistic things, cars, houses, all of that, whatever, women, all of that. These were all of the things that drove me for the longest time. But I will say, in the midst of all of that, never was there purpose. Whereas now, those things don't drive me anymore, but like the whole lot of all of that has been replaced by one singular thing, and that is purpose.
Yeah.
And it's mind blowing, to still have that fire and whatnot. But what has dwindled down? I tell you this though. In that sense, it hasn't dwindled down, but what has dwindled down is the pursuit of all those things. And I guess, for those of us, and I don't want to assume everybody watching, has been digging into the word, but for those that have, that are watching that do constantly dig into the word, that's kind of what the Bible says, pursue God, don't pursue the world. And I think what's happening in my case, praise God, is as I'm just on this, full speed ahead pursuance of God, I find myself chasing things of the world less and less and less. Now, that doesn't mean I don't care about money. It doesn't mean I don't care about, living and things. I care, but I'm just saying, like, that drive that I had once upon a time that was solely for that is definitely dwindled down. Especially when it comes to things of like things of the nature pertaining to fame, recognition, status, career advancement. I'm not saying I don't care about those things, but it's just, ever so often throughout the day, God will just put it in such clear perspective for me, like what is, really, what is a platinum plaque really worth? What is I can't think of specific things, but what are these things worth? And when do I have these perspective moments? When I look at my son, when I look him in the eye, when I watch him running around our living room, those moments when I pick up my wife from work and she, comes in the car and, I'm like, hey, how was work today, right? And we're going home. Those moments, or Thanksgiving dinners when I see my mom, my dad, my in-laws, all the fam there. Those moments, very reflective of God's grace and mercy and favor in my life. And that's when I start thinking, I'm kind of glad my album with Rough Riders didn't go 3 times platinum, because I believe that if it did go 3 times platinum, as everybody hoped and expected and predicted and whatnot, my life would have took a very different course. Yeah.
Absolutely, man. Whew. Yeah. That puts it all in perspective. And so when you step into the booth, it's funny because you said you've been rejuvenated and refreshed and just re-energized, because one of the #1 comments that I've been seeing, and really what I personally experienced when I listened to Hypocrite, was that same thing. Refreshing, rejuvenation, re-energizing, almost re-energizing to the point of, self-introspection, but not in a way, some music, it causes you to look inwardly with despair, but you have so much hope and excitement, and you're like, look, this is what you're joyfully critiquing yourself. You're joyfully critiquing, and it causes us to look inwardly and say, and this is really what people have been saying about this interview so far as well in the comments, I see a lot of me in here. Wow. I see a lot of myself in what you're saying. And so, man, there's so many places, so many ways. Okay,
I can talk a little bit more about Hypocrite, though. Since
let's talk about Hypocrite, because I was gonna lead into that. I was gonna lead into that in particular with what's like one song that encompasses that concept. You're like, oh man, this is Hypocrite. I know you're gonna say the entire album, because that's not just the that's like the artist thing to do, right? Like the whole thing inspires it. But what's one song that's rocking you right now that you're like, man, the Lord really showed me a lot through the creation of this?
All right, check this out. I have the answer for that question. Before I answer it, though, one thing I want to say about Hypocrite and why it's so unique and why this whole experience has been and continues to blow my mind is Hypocrite as a whole, and as each song goes, or as a whole, is the first time that I've been convicted by my own music.
Wow.
And I don't know if that makes sense. Like, meaning, like, this is the first time where I guess you could say there's times when I listen to the songs and I'll have somewhat of an out-of-body experience. And what I mean by that is because I'm listening to these words from this voice coming out of the speakers, and it will convict me in a way to where I have to really come to my senses and say, hey, that's you. Like, that's you saying that. You see what I'm saying? And this is the first time it's ever happened in my 15 plus years of rapping. The one song that I think in real time right now is probably, the most like, oh man, is Don't Walk Run.
Yeah.
And the reason I say that,
same here, man.
and the reason I say that is because when I wrote Don't Walk Run, it was coming from a place of, this is my struggle. I mean, like, everybody has kind of their one thorn, right? The one thorn in their side. That one obstacle, that one thing that they're trying to find breakthrough in. And the more I'm learning is that it's tough, because in one sense, we're supposed to embrace it, because it's these struggles and these challenges that allow us to be weak, and then it's in our weakness that we can see God really work, right? In one sense, we're supposed to embrace it, but simultaneously, a big part of the breakthrough is breaking the lie that these things still have us in bondage, right? We need to break the lie. These things don't have us anymore. Victory was already accomplished by the blood of Christ on the cross, right? Amen. So that's something I'm still growing and working in. But when I wrote Don't Walk Run, it definitely was coming from a place of, no way to beat around the bush. Just lust, temptation, porn. Porn is the extremity of it, but beyond that is just on a day-to-day, being out and about, just wanting to really control my mind. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And this topic it can spawn into a whole nother Google chat, but I'm gonna contain it as much as I can, right? But I do want to take about 4 or 5 minutes to touch on this. I know for a fact that what I'm dealing with currently is something that has come to be after years and years of just, being misled and misguided and feeding into my own fleshly desires. So what happened is, all these years, one of the biggest things that I used to think was, okay, I have this under control. But that was the biggest lie. And the reality is, not only did I not have it under control, but, dude, I've been victim to this. And it's not about, like, claiming victim, but what I mean is the enemy has definitely had me on a stronghold in this regard for the longest time. So what I'm the most thankful for is that I see through that, at least. I see that this is something that I can't control. I can't, it's not something that I'm going to be able to contain on my own. So the beauty in that is it allows me to see exactly how dependent I am on God for it. Now, the reason I say I'm thankful for it is because even in just with the release of Don't Walk Run, I've seen 2 reviews so far, 2 blog reviews, and this is not to bash them. I'm thankful, if this is their honest review, then by all means it's welcomed and it's appreciated. But in these 2 reviews, the common denominator is both of them said that Don't Walk Run is like the weakest track in these 2 reviews. And now here's the interesting thing, right? When I read it, did my heart sink a bit? Yeah, because I also know that in the whole entire Hypocrite project, the most challenging song that you know, for me to write and to even say I'm gonna lay it all out there was Don't Walk
Don't
Run,
walk,
right?
run. Yeah.
Exactly. So this is how God works, though, and it's just amazing. In these two reviews, and it being the common denominator that both reviewers and writers are saying, you know, Don't Walk Run is the weakest of the batch, and you know, Jin's talking about a topic that has been talked about a million times, and he's not really covering new ground, and so forth and so forth. It's you know, it's, they're not just bashing it for the sake of bashing it. So I'm like, I get it and I receive it fully, but at the same time, the record that I've seen so far as feedback in emails, you know, and obviously this might not be stuff that people will tweet me because it is a very personal matter, but in emails, people saying, yo, you're hitting me in the heart with the Don't Walk Run song, and you know, and so forth and so forth. So God helps me see in that light that what are you really writing these songs for? You know, now going beyond Don't Walk Run, just in general, be it Don't Walk Run, be it Hypocrite, the Healing Joint, Broken, whatever the case may be, you know, it's not saying that, oh, just because, you know, I'm doing it for the kingdom and whatnot, that I don't have to put effort into it. But in the end, Jin, what are you seeking? Are you seeking really to be able to help people be encouraged and challenged and inspired? Or are you looking for good reviews? So now, I'm not saying that the reviews of those two individuals are invalid. It's super valid. You know, they have all the right to make their points and state their opinions. And like I said, I'm super thankful that they were so honest and straightforward about it. But this is the thing, you know, beyond any other listener, that's why I picked Don't Walk Run when you asked me the question. If you had to pick one to kind of, you know, encapsulate the whole project, I think without a doubt it would be that, because as I stated, when I wrote it, that was where, you know, the inspiration came from. But even to this very day, right now, that's still kind of the one thing that I don't want to say I'm struggling with, because when I say I'm struggling with it, you know, it's kind of giving the enemy leeway, like saying, yeah, he still has me kind of in hope. But that's the one thing that God has definitely put on my heart, as far as not only wanting to be set free from myself, but wanting to help others set free. And if that's through encouragement, because it's tough, you know. Sometimes the biggest challenge is not helping people set free, but yo, sometimes the biggest challenge is when that brother or sister doesn't even see that it's an issue. You know, I've seen it in YouTube comments. Like some people are like, yo, why you know, what's up with the Don't Walk Run joint, Jin? Yo, you know, ain't nothing wrong with, you know, ain't nothing wrong with sex and, you know, getting right and all that. Part of my language, you know. But it's and that right there is a moment that reflects Hypocrite too. Cause who am I to look at that person commenting and be like, shame on this person. You know, God bless their soul. Oh, look at this wicked individual. Because, yo, truth of the matter, yo, even for me, right? The same person that wrote Don't Walk Run, you can go on YouTube and search, and you will find a bunch of songs where I am talking about the exact opposite of Don't Walk Run. And, you know, sometimes there's a joint on Crazy Love Ridiculous Faith, actually, the God Future joint, the intro, where there's this line where I say, I wish I could go back and delete my whole discography. And someone told me before, it was like, yo, Jin, there's a purpose that what you did in the past is still there, and it will remain there. Because, dude, look at it. Look at the contrast of what you used to write and the messages that you used to convey, but now what you're saying. And that alone right there, you know, not alone, but that is a big part of your testimony. If you delete all of that, there's no, there's no contrast, and it, you know, the whole purpose is for people to see God can really do that. God can really transform.
Yeah.
And which is why one of the figures that I relate to in you know, from a biblical standpoint is and I think a lot of us in hip hop, you know, I'm not saying specifically in hip hop, but in hip hop will say, you know, as we grow in our faith, is like, you know, we learn about Paul, you know, like I look at Paul and I'm just like, yo, this was a guy that was, you know, condemning and pointing out, yo, that's a Christian over there, that's a Christian over there, kill him, hang him, right?
Yeah.
to go from that to being, yo, one of the gospel's forerunners, you know what I'm saying? One of the gospel's, you know, premier spokespersons and disciples, right? When I look at that, then it definitely makes from battle rapper to Christian rapper seem like nothing. You see what I'm saying? Because when people are like, yo, I'm still blown away by how you went from the 106 in Park to what you're doing now. And once you put it in the perspective of we're talking about the almighty creator and we're talking about, you know, the Father, right? Like, how mind-blowing is it? It's not really that mind-blowing.
Yeah. Whew. That was a great answer, man. Like, I think one of the things that really stood out to me was just the whole, I guess it's kind of a microcosm of your entire journey, that now the things that are edifying aren't always like aesthetically pleasing to the ear as readily, right? So it's not going to always tickle the fancy of the ears, but it may be edifying. But the willingness, I think the dope thing is that you're able to be willing to sacrifice. Like, okay, it may not be what everyone likes, but it's what people need. And even now, like, since you've been commenting, and you may not know this, but there have been people who have been commenting on Rapzilla and also on YouTube who have been saying Don't Walk Run was like a turning point in the album for me, or Don't Walk Run kept me from temptation this week, you know. And just to see that, like, tangibly, you're talking about it, and then bam, there it is. Like, that's really dope, and I think that's just a great testimony of what God is doing in you, man. And again, we're here with MC JIN. It's on Rapzilla.com. We just gonna stick around for a few more minutes here.
Yeah, I'm good.
Get into some questions. You good? All right.
Well,
we just gonna fly through. And again, guys, questions on Rapzilla.com and also on YouTube. I see a lot of questions that are good right now. There's gonna be some good material for Jen to get in just a little bit. Okay, let's see here. Where do we want to go with this? So Hypocrite is available, again, thegreatcompany.com. So go get it. I'm trying to figure out which song I want to end with here as far as talking about Hypocrite, man. Let's talk about Behind Enemy Lines, okay?
Yeah.
Explain Behind Enemy Lines, and I think in the entire album, one of the things that blessed me is you're not just, it's kind of this dichotomy that we exist in and we're called to exist in as Christians, as being like humble but unashamed at the same time, like bold, but like understanding that our boldness comes from Christ. Like, so it's kind of like this weird dichotomy. We're like, how am I supposed to act? Like, what am I supposed to say? But you're very bold in this EP. And so on Behind Enemy Lines, you say some bold things. And so from that standpoint of being behind enemy lines, also taking criticism, how much Christ is in my rhymes, you know, how much non-Christ is in my rhymes, which is something you touch on throughout the album. Talk about Behind Enemy Lines, what spawned that, and then also kind of spin off into this larger conversation that we continuously have in CHH as far as how much, how far, how little, you know, just these degrees that we're constantly wrestling with.
Indeed. This is a term that I only learned in the last year or two, and I thought it was funny when I first learned of it, and I was like, oh, that's pretty interesting and cute, which is the JPM in a song, Jesus per minute. The Jesus per minute. And, you know, all jokes aside, I think it's a conversation that is understandable. You know, it's, you know, when people bring this topic up, it's understandable why they would bring it up, which is, yo, you know, is his songs proclaiming the gospel, or is it not proclaiming the gospel? Like, does he actually talk about Jesus? Is there actual biblical scriptures in it? Isn't? I get where it comes from, and I don't bash the people that raise that awareness. But as it stands for myself, I don't know if it's the most healthy and worthy of investing so much time into debating. You know, I think the dialogue and occasional like talking and you know, like, people are all open to, you know, to discuss this. But my personal take on it, and I don't know how this aligns biblically, so by all means, if someone has some sort of insight, please feel free to email me, tweet me about it. I don't know, because I'm still learning. But as it stands from my personal perspective, I just don't know if it's the most worthy of really devoting so much time and energy and brain power into debating. Yo, did you hear Jin's song? How many times did he say Jesus on it? I don't think he said Jesus even once. So I thought he was doing Christian rap, right? So I mean, I think, you know, God, if God is as powerful as you know, believers are supposed to believe, and you know, some of us claim he is, then I think we need to have the faith and the trust that he's working at all times. More importantly, check this out. More importantly than the Jesus per minute is, I think, really challenging both the listener and the artist, you know, the creator of that content, challenging them to put the focus on where the focus should be, which is, for example, myself, right? I'm gonna apply it to myself and make it more kind of make the perspective a bit more clear. As Hypocrite comes out, you know, I don't want people to say, yo, Jin, you killed, you know, I mean, they'll say, yo, Jin, you killed this. Yo, this joint was dope. Yo, this is one of your greatest albums, and so forth and so forth. And it's so encouraging. But even as I'm receiving this encouragement, with every single tweet, with every single compliment, I have to be so mindful that, yo, this is not about me, right? And wanting to challenge the listener to see that as well. Because I'm going to let you down. I'm not saying I will intentionally let you down, but I will let you down because I'm not God. I'm not Jesus. You know, so don't, and I'm not saying that from a sense of like, yo, I don't want the responsibility and I don't want to be held to a certain standard. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying the reality is, if you put all the emphasis on me or on Lecrae or on, you know, on Pastor Francis Chan or on Chad Horton, Tyler, if you put any of the focus on any of these individuals more than you should be putting it on God, you're bound to be let down. Because at any given point, that individual, that Christian rapper that you admire, that pastor that you admire, will say or do something that's gonna not be aligned with what you personally think. And then at that moment, your faith is gonna be, you know, shaken, and it shouldn't be. You know, because if your faith is in the Lord, then, you know, it shouldn't be shaken, right? So you know, once again, I reiterate, that's something that I'm not projecting onto other artists, but more so myself, which is, you know, challenging myself to be held accountable, number one. At the same time, challenging the listener to be held accountable in the sense too that I'm not the one that you should be worshiping. These, you know, these pastors, these rappers, these youth leaders, these so forth and so forth. It's like, it's, you know, it's definitely one thing to encourage them to follow their teachings and to be, you know, and to let them pour into you, but it's something to be very clear about. And I'm equally as accountable as well in that sense. You know, I've been to some of these churches, and you know, these pastors, they're so well spoken, they're so charismatic, they're so engaging, and then next thing you know, you're looking at this guy like he's the one that's, you know, blowing your mind, when it should be, wait a minute, no, God is blowing my mind, not this guy. You know, so yeah.
Man, that's dope. That's dope. Ah, man, so many things. You're giving such a great perspective, and always challenging yourself.
I don't know.
Nah, you are, you are like, it's dope to see the maturation though. It's really dope to see the growth in you, you know, over the past, you know, 10 years, to say, you know, look what the Lord brought you from.
Yeah,
and that's just a testimony.
And I think to tie that into the question about behind enemy lines is you know, kind of that concept of who is my enemy, you know, because people will easily put those categories. It's like, okay, we're CHH. Anything that's not CHH is our enemy. And then even more specifically, yo, Lil Wayne is our enemy. Eminem is our enemy. You know, anyone who's not doing what we're doing is our enemy. And as it stands for me, you know, a couple of things. Number one, I don't see Jay-Z as my enemy. I don't see Kanye as my enemy. You know, what they say, what they do, what they represent. I mean, is it not necessarily aligned with, you know, my beliefs and my faith and whatnot? Yeah, but for me, maybe it's because my personal walk with Christ, the biggest thing that I've seen is my brokenness and how unworthy I am of his grace and love. And because of that, I can't find a single ounce in my body to even begin to condemn Kanye or Hove or, you know, and I don't want to limit it to just the rapper segment, you know, or these individuals, just across the board. I can't condemn or even begin to pass judgment on anyone. So now there's a difference between that and condoning what they're doing. I'm not condoning it. I'm not, you know, it's one thing, right? But I think the thing is just, you know, to go back to scripture, it's like, you know, getting the plank out of your own eye before you worry about the speck in your brother's eye, you know? And there's a lot, you know, I mean, as far as within the word, there's so much. And even that, you know, tying it back to the whole hypocrite thing, you know, it's so easy to constantly, you know, we read the Bible, we study the word, and we have it in our brains. And it's so easy to just at any moment say, oh yeah, you know, 2 Corinthians 5:17, he who's in Christ, brand new creature. But beyond just saying that, are you living life as a brand new creature? And I'm applying this to myself, by the way. So I'm not projecting it onto anyone. But that's something to be mindful of too. And I guess that all goes back to the you know, as I stated in the beginning of the Hypocrite track. Let me tell you how this all came to be. I was sitting, digging in the word, Matthew 23. And Matthew 23 blew me away like that, which is, you know, Jesus is straight up saying to the Pharisees, who cares if you know the law? Yeah. You know the law inside and out, word for word, but you are filthy. And not only that, you make it harder with the law to, you know, for your brothers and sisters to grow, because you're just holding them to the law. But meanwhile, you yourself, you're filthy as, you know, you're filthy as heck too. And that's kind of, you know, what I'm trying to challenge myself with, which is, yes, studying the word is so important, but not so much to where I get caught up in it and I forget, you know, the key element, love, you know. And once again, like the behind enemy lines, you know, aside from the distinction of who's my enemy and who's not, even the Bible says, even if I clearly know that's my enemy, I need to love him too. You know? So,
absolutely. Yeah, man. Yo, if you're watching, we're about to get into your live questions here. So leave your questions on YouTube and on Rapzilla.
Let's take some live questions.
We gonna hit one more topic, and then we gonna hit the live questions rapid fire. Okay, one more thing I kind of want to touch on, because it's not just an issue that's relevant to you, but it's also an issue that's relevant culturally. And it was a breaking news story as well. So you are part of the Fast and Furious franchise, and you were prominently featured. And also, you know, for those of you who may have seen the movie, there's one scene where I think they're in Japan, or they cut to a scene in Hong Kong, and then you hear Jin in the background. So they cut to Hong Kong, and then you hear some Jin in the background. I remember seeing a tweet back when it first came out that you and your wife were like going crazy in the theater, you know, or whatever. So that's dope. Like, you have favor in that aspect. And so solemnly and somberly, you know, Paul Walker passed away and was killed in a car accident. And so, keeping that in perspective, as somebody who you may have had interactions with, or, you know, shared the screen with, like, how did that hit you? And then also along those lines, like, what interactions, like, do you have with people in the mainstream culture, whether it's Paul Walker, whether it was, you know, whoever you star in whatever movies you're in? Like, what are those interactions like, and how do you leverage those for the gospel? Like, is that a natural process? Is that something you're still struggling with, or are you the expert?
You be having these super dope questions, but you compact like 5 of them into one.
I know.
It's just
that's my tendency. I'm just like, oh man, I'm
in my head.
8 in 1.
It's cool. It's cool. You know, I mean, just to share about Paul first. I don't think I can say anything that hasn't been said already, which is definitely an unfortunate and sudden, sudden news, just of his passing. And I think the thing to, you know, put into perspective is, life is like that. You know, people are passing every day. just sometimes we tend to overlook it because it might not be somebody we know. It might not be it might not be a public figure. So when you do have public figures who pass, especially, let's say someone who's more prominent, I'm talking about just in general, it becomes the hot topic, unfortunately, and nobody wants to be the hot topic in that sense. But I think the general reaction and the sadness of Paul's passing in particular, I think has to do with a couple things. For me, even beyond the fact that, I was blessed enough to be a part of the franchise, even in such a small way, both in Too Fast, Too Furious was about 10 years ago. Yeah, that came out in 2004.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Man.
I was 10 years younger. Everybody in the cast was 10 years younger. You were 10 years younger. This is 10 years ago, and it blows me away that a decade later, people still remember. Yeah, Jimmy. Yeah, Jimmy. Right, and I want to say both unfortunately, but also, fortunate enough that that was my limited interaction with Paul, on set, that scene where, he comes to the garage, he's like, yo, Jimmy, take a look at the cars, and all the times that I've watched this before, they be playing Too Fast, Too Furious on TNT, heavy, like, and
all
the time. And the best way to know when it comes on is when I look at my timeline and it's like, yo, Jimmy, I see you on TNT. But every time that it's come on, and I see, man, just to be able to be a part of that universe, that Too Fast, Too Furious, Fast and the Furious universe, it still blows me away. And as it relates to, Paul passing, I think when I first heard the news, I was in Hong Kong. So this was like several days ago. I hadn't come back to the States yet. I was in Hong Kong. I just woke up, and I'm on WhatsApp with my wife, and she's just like, sad face, bad news, and I can't believe. I hope this isn't true. I hope it's a rumor. And I'm just reading. I'm like, well, what's going on? And then as soon as I read the sentence, yeah, Paul Walker, in an accident. So right away, of course, I Google it, and then when I Google it, and it started to look pretty legit, like this is not a rumor. It was surreal. It was surreal, and the thing that I was going to say was that me being a part of the universe, the Fast and the Furious universe notwithstanding, I think the truth is, a lot of us grew up with this world, from even going back to the first one, the first one, the Fast and the Furious, and then watching that family and that world grow, and then The Rock coming in and seeing where just where everybody grew, and in a sense watching Brian, the character that Paul plays, Brian, watching Brian's world evolve in the movie, to where, let's say in Fast 6, he's married, he's got his kid, so it's like you have that aspect of it. When you grow up with these characters and with the story for 10 years, there's bound to be emotional attachment, even if it's just within a created world. But on top of that, I think the thing about Paul Walker is, he just always struck everybody as a good dude, and my experience was no different, on set. I remember there was this one night, it wasn't like, this crazy night where, super crazy things happen, and I remember the details. But I remember this one night where the director, John Singleton, he took everybody out to dinner. So here we're at dinner. It's Ludacris, it's Paul, it's Eva Mendes, and I'm sitting there and we're eating like seafood. And I'm just like a little kid. I'm like 21. I'm 21. I'm like, this is crazy. What am I doing here? And I remember everybody being cool. Like everybody was just real cool, cracking jokes at dinner, eating lobster. And I'm sure Paul was definitely, one of the coolest ones there that night, as far as just being hospitable, being open, being, friendly and stuff like that.
Dope, man. Yeah. And so kind of spinning off of that just quickly before we get into these live questions.
Yeah.
Like Hollywood, man. Like, what's your place in Hollywood? And I know you've had some cameo appearances in recent movies.
Yeah.
And, kind of speaking on that, like what what's your place in that, and how do you feel like that will ever change as you get a little bit older, as you grow in the faith, to where you're like, look, I'm done, no more, like no more Hollywood, it's too much filth there, or whatever it may be.
Good question. There's definitely, my bad.
Nah, you good.
Shout out to all my Mac users out there.
Yeah, Mac in the building, baby.
You know what this is. Well, the acting thing is definitely something that I have a very strong passion and attraction to. I think it really kicked into high gear in the last 2-3 years while I've been in Hong Kong, and that's because in Hong Kong, I've just been able to really, get into it, both on the film front and on the TV. I just finished my third one, which is a TV drama, which is like kind of the what a lot of people watch in Hong Kong. So it's like these 30 episode, 1 hour episode TV dramas, and there's different topics. Some of them are kind of like CSI. Some of them are like Desperate Housewives. Some of them, so it's all kind of, but in Chinese, of course. And I did 3 of those. I did about 2-3 films, and then back on the English front, the last kind of bigger one that I did, which was kind of interesting. I mean, not big as in my role, but as far as production, was The Man with the Iron Fist, and with RZA. So that was kind of interesting, and it was an interesting experience too, because as you mentioned, and I'm not gonna ignore and stray away from it like it's not part of the topic. There is the dynamic of, as I grow in my faith, the dynamic of where does that leave me in terms of the projects that I choose to be a part of, and not only that, but the roles that I take. And using The Man with the Iron Fist as a prime example, is it a film that I would even let my son watch? No. Well, I mean, my son's only 1 year old, but
right.
let's say he was 12, 13, I wouldn't let him watch it, right? And then even for myself, I'm grown, I'm 31, but when I watch it, does it stir certain things in my heart that are unsettling? Yeah, it does. Like certain of the violence aspect, the whatchamacallit, the what's the word? The obscenity. Yeah, the obscenity, and the sexual nature, of it, right? Yeah, I mean, it's definitely all related to the Hypocrite project. It's like one thing I'm talking about, Don't Walk, Run, but then here I am participating in a film that could potentially, cause myself to stumble. I'm watching The Man with the Iron Fist, and next thing you know, I'm online searching for some random nonsense. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So there is that aspect, and it's something that I would love if you guys prayed for me about, because I think there is a topic that has been on the table, which is as believers, right, and as artisans, right, as people who do art, film, music, whatever, kind of where do you cross that line? And for me personally, I'm still, I'm digging in the Word. I'm asking, some of the elders, brothers who are a bit more spiritually mature as far as guidance and wisdom, but ultimately just praying for God. And the best thing I do is I just say, God, if this is not in your will, close the door. But if it is in your will, then show me what, how should I approach this and whatnot. So I say all of that.
It's fluid, so it's not like it's like a
That's the thing.
Case by case.
It is fluid. But the other project that I just finished is finished already, but it's supposed to come out later in 2014. This film called Revenge of the Green Dragons, and it's like a crime thriller drama type thing. So that was pretty cool. Got to do a couple scenes with, I mean, for me, being a part of the whole thing was pretty mind-blowing, but particularly I had a couple scenes with Ray Liotta.
Wow.
Who so that was kind of like to be honest, that was my first real, like, okay, Jin, you want to be an actor? Here you go. we put you in front of Ray Liotta, and let's see how you hang,
Let's see what's up.
Let's see how you do. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to seeing how that comes on as far as when it's all put together. But we're done filming with that already, and
cool.
Yeah.
Okay, dope, man. That's something we're gonna keep you in prayer about, as I
Yeah.
know that's a fluid situation, and most of us in our comfortable couches would say this is what you should or shouldn't do. But when put in this situation, it's a little bit different. So
Yeah.
definitely being in that world. Okay, so let's take some rapid fire
Let's take
questions.
some questions.
Yo,
Yeah.
you ready?
I'm
Okay, so
ready.
we gonna take these questions. We're gonna keep it to about 30 seconds to answer or so.
Cool.
All right. So let's see here. Okay. All right. Andrew Russell from Rapzilla. It's probably something you've been asked before. He's on Rapzilla. He says, "Do you believe as a follower of Christ?" Well, actually, he says first of all, he's a former battle MC and struggles with wanting to go back into that world. Do you
Hmm.
believe as a follower of Christ we can be in that world and be active in it and minister, or is it a place that we should stay out of?
You want the 30-second answer?
I knew.
um,
I was like, man, this
okay.
one's not
No,
a
it's a good one.
30-second one.
I mean, I can try to answer it in 30 seconds.
Go ahead, take your liberty, brother.
I couldn't do it. And the reason I couldn't do it is because um, I don't think I would be clear enough at the given moment with my motives. Because it's easy to say, yo, I'm going to come in here and use it as a platform to spread the gospel, to minister, and to witness. I can say that. But I think from my experience, as deep as I was in the battle environment and in the battle scene, is that yo, it's spiritual. There's we have to know that yo, spirits are tied into everything. And the thing about the battle nature and the component is that there is this spirit of pride, of ego, and even just competitiveness. And I think it gets really challenging to be very clear about which channel you're going into, even if you go into it with the best intentions. And for me, I think it's also the as much as I'm removed from it, the respect that I have for the art and the culture itself is what provokes me from stepping back into it, knowing that yo, I'm not going into it, with my all. Because the thing about what these guys are doing now and what the battle culture has evolved into is, yo, man, they're super incredible. They're super talented, and it may not be the most uplifting, encouraging, and edifying, but that still doesn't take away from just the sheer talent and creativity of what they do. So for me personally, it's touchy. How that applies to you, I hope you can take what I said and kind of, use it to help yourself navigate.
Yeah. Elaney M on YouTube, he or she, I'm not really sure.
Yeah,
I think it's a she. But
yeah.
they asked, what do you think about CHH as a whole in response to rappers that turn Christian? Is the CHH community too harsh on them? And that's what I was going to kind of ask you in another sense. Like, have you learned the CHH secret handshake, so to speak?
I just know. Oh wow, that's a good question. You know, my personal experience once again, because I don't want to make these general sweeping statements like I can speak on behalf of No Malice and Mace and so forth and so forth. Because I don't know what their experiences have been like. But for me personally, it's been nothing but encouragement, love, and even the ones that have been challenging, I feel like have been beneficial for me. The ones that that they are a bit more like, I don't want to use the word hesitant, but they're a bit more like, let's see what Jin does first. We're gonna wait this one out. We're not just gonna be like, yeah, Jin, come on, man. And I think the reason they do that is because it is more so like we could care less what Jin raps about. We could care less the direction of his music. We want to see more about the fruit and how is this brother really walking, you know? And I get that. I get that. Especially now as I'm a bit further in my own walk. I personally think, doesn't matter what I rap about. More importantly is, when I'm off that stage, when the mic is off, when you hit me up one on one, how am I interacting with you? What am I presenting to you then? You see what I'm saying? So
Absolutely. Okay. All right. A couple of more here. Disney is my life. 123 on YouTube.
me
Shout
too.
out to you. Who is your biggest inspiration in the music industry?
Whoa, that's a good one. Um, that's interesting. As I grow in my faith, God has, really helped me strip away some of these idols. And what I mean by that is, why, maybe back in the days I would have told you, yo, I want to be like so and so. So and so is who, I emulate, and so status is who I want to achieve, and so forth. And in some sense, those were definitely idols of mine, both in the, the literal term, and even like in my heart, really. Um, I mean, as far as like inspirations and people I look up to, I mean, when I first got into hip hop, LL Cool J was definitely someone who, like, I set as like, yeah, LL. He's got the ladies. He's got the ladies covered. The dudes like him. And then another individual would be Will Smith too. Even beyond the rap, beyond the music industry, but I think as an overall, like, as an overall entertainer, I think Will Smith is someone that a lot of people would say, yeah, the acting, the music, and so forth and so forth.
Dope, man. Just a couple of more here again. So what's the next big, if without, you kind of talked about this earlier, without setting you up to seek after collabs or run after them, like, who's somebody who you peeped and you're like, man, I would really love to do a song with them, or I'd really love to just kind of, they inspire me as an artist who's currently making music now?
Oh, there's a lot. Braille.
Yeah, shout out to Braille.
Brian, or as I like to call him. No, the only thing that's holding me back from doing a track with Braille is I don't want to get renegated on my own song.
Oh man.
That's why, like, I'm gonna take a couple more months to really sharpen my pen game first before I even extend that outreach to Mr. Braille, sorry. But yeah, he definitely someone who's, I think, once again, both on and off the mic, just really reflective of the spirit, and the talent, just if you talk, just pure talent. Oh man, he's definitely in my list of just top MCs that I think are really dope.
Dope. Okay, one more. We don't want to keep you too long here, but just as kind of wrapping it up, bringing it full circle, 2014. What's on the docket for 2014? You talked a little bit about media and television and movies. Music-wise, as a leader, ministry, what's on the docket for Jin in 2014?
Okay. Well, I think one big thing is the geographical transition. And what I mean by that is, for anyone who has been particularly interested, even if a little bit, or has been following, will know that these last several years, actually, I've been in Hong Kong. So I've been in a whole nother time zone. I've been on at least compared to the people that are in the States, which is where my home base is, actually, because my wife is here and now my child is here too. But I've been basically on the other side of the planet, in the land of Hong Kong. So in 2014, the big change, the big thing would be the transition back over here. So I'll be closer in time zone and in geography to you, Tyler, and probably most of the people watching right now. And I think that totally relates to everything else, because I think being here, based in the States and home base, will allow me to kind of expand more in several fronts, both on the acting front, which is something that I really want to do and pursue. So yeah, man, just to be able to hit more of those auditions, you know what I'm saying? Like, maybe pop up in The Walking Dead. I don't know if Glenn is still alive. I haven't watched this season. Maybe they need another Asian dude. I don't know. Or maybe they want to add an Asian dude to, Breaking Bad or something. I don't know. We'll see. But
Jimmy on Breaking Bad.
Yeah. So maybe more
or Walking Dead. My bad.
Castings for different projects, film, TV, film. So praying that God will really show favor and, like I said, open the doors that He sees fit. And also, please, by all means, close the ones that are not aligned with what He wants for my, for my career. And then on the music front, it's definitely a bit premature, but I feel led, and I think I'm pretty committed to this. So I'd love to share that I will be releasing an English album, like a full album, in 2014. And I'm really excited about it, because I think in the way that Hypocrite was a very unique project, like I said, as far as for me personally, You know, it's the first time I've been so convicted by my own music. I think the next project will be unique in the sense that it'll be the one that most kind of covers all grounds. Because the thing about Hypocrite is, as transparent and as bold as it is, there is this sense of, you know, certain individuals saying, yo, I can't rock with this, Jin. You see what I'm saying? Like, as far as people who are following me, my early journey. But then you have people who follow me on my early journey who, you know, follow me now, and they're like, yo, this is it, you know, like, this is what you should be doing now. Praise God, Jin. So, not to say that I want to cater, but I think organically, this is the key. As my heart is led, I think the next album, the next project, this album that I'm referring to, will be kind of the total encompass, like it will totally encompass kind of all grounds. But like I said, though, not in the sense of, yo, I hope I can cater to them and cater to them, but I just mean it'll be the one where I really just lay it all out fully for everybody.
Yeah, new album coming 2014 from MC JIN. Yo, man, it's been dope. Again, if you don't have Hypocrite, the EP, go to thegreatcompany.com and get that.
And you know the way God works. Remember I told earlier I tried to get Lecrae on one song, and then I tried to get No Malice on another song. For all we know, maybe on the album they'll both be on the same song.
Hey, okay, who knows? Who knows? Putting it out there.
Wishful thinking. That's on my Christmas list.
Cool.
It's in God's hands. It's in God's hands.
Absolutely. Jin, where can they follow you on social media? Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, MySpace, LinkedIn.
Yeah, I'm on all of those. The easiest is if you go to MCJIN.com, like just MCJIN.com. It's got all the links for the different things. You know, there's the little bird. There's the little bird from Twitter, and then there's the little F for the Facebook, and there's the YouTube television screen there. So MCJIN.com. That's all you got to do.
Dope, man. Jin, any final words for the people?
Man, happy holidays. Anybody that's been watching for the last hour and plus, man, God bless you. You have an amazing attention span. Because I ramble, I go on rants, and I don't even know how engaging or how entertaining or how, I don't know how engaging I am when I speak. So I'm always self-conscious about, man, who would actually listen to me talk? So if you have been for the last hour and change, man, God bless you. And you should consider being a teacher or something, because
Yo, Jin, for real though, man, this actually been dope and edifying, and I think when you look back on it, when people look back on it, this is going to be a really helpful resource to revisit, just as kind of a master class. If you're talking about a teacher reference, this has been a master class in transparency, humility, the transformation power of God, maturity, growth, all the above, man. And so we appreciate you on behalf of Rapzilla.com and the people watching. We appreciate you, brother, for taking your time. And also, everybody, go get Hypocrite now. Hypocrite, the EP.
Thank you, man. Appreciate the support. Thank you, Tyler. Awesome. Thank you, Rapzilla.
Well, Jin, until next time, peace, brother. God bless you.
Thanks, man.
We'll be in touch, man.
Later.
All right.